For the first time in decades, China's population has declined by 850,000 people, according to official numbers. That doesn't sound like much for a country of more than 1 billion Chinese, but this moment marks a trend we'll be seeing over this century. Projections show that by 2100, China's population will be lower than it was even in the 1960s. This demographic shift will have massive consequences, not just for China, but globally. Here's a look back at how China has tried to manage its population up to now.
Booming megacities teeming with people. That's the image of 21st century China. And yet, China needs more babies. For the first time in 60 years, its population is shrinking. Despite dropping its notorious one-child policy some years ago, Chinese couples are reluctant to have more children.
The population race between India and China has always been a topic of fascination. For many years, China has held the title of the world's most populous country. But in recent years, it's been a different story. While this might seem like good news for India, the reasons behind their population boom are complex and fascinating. India's population growth is due to several factors, including improved healthcare and sanitation and a high birth rate. However, China, which has long been a demographic powerhouse, seems to be suffering now. Recently, India surpassed China to become the most populous country in the world, with over 1.4 billion people as of 2022, according to web sources. So, what's driving India's population growth? One major factor is the country's higher fertility rate compared to China. In 2021, India had an average of 2.03 children per woman, while China had just 1.08 children per woman in 2022. This means that Indian women are having more children, which contributes to the country's overall population growth. The implications of this population shift are vast, ranging from economic and environmental concerns to social and political issues. As India's population continues to grow, it will undoubtedly face new challenges and opportunities, while China grapples with its own demographic challenges. When it comes to demographics, age is a major factor that can shape a country's future. In the case of India and China, the two most populous countries in the world, the age difference is striking. India has a much younger population than China, with a median age of 28.7 years in 2022 compared to 38.4 years in China in 2020. What does this mean for India's population growth? One key advantage of having a younger population is that there are more potential parents, which can lead to a higher birth rate. Additionally, there are fewer elderly dependents who require care, which can put less strain on the healthcare system and other social services. But how did China go from being the world's most populous country to facing significant demographic challenges today? The answer to this question is complex and multifaceted, but one of the major factors is China's one-child policy. China has long been a global powerhouse, and for centuries, it boasted the largest population of any country. However, in the late 20th century, the Chinese government recognized that its growing population posed a significant threat to the country's development. And to address this issue, the government introduced the one-child policy in 1980. The policy was a population planning measure designed to limit most families in China to just one child. The goal was to slow down the country's rapid population growth, which was seen as unsustainable and a threat to economic and social development. The one-child policy in China was enforced through a variety of methods, including propaganda, incentives, and penalties. But the most controversial methods were forced abortions and sterilizations, which were used to ensure that families complied with the policy. But did the policy make things better or worse? It sure made things worse. Despite its stated goals of reducing population growth and promoting economic development, the one-child policy was highly controversial, both inside and outside China. Critics argued that it violated human rights and created a gender imbalance, as many families chose to have male children over females. The policy also had negative social and psychological effects on many families, as they struggled to adjust to the new restrictions on family size. Due to a traditional preference for sons, many families resorted to sex-selective abortions to ensure they had a male child. This led to a significant gender imbalance, with more boys than girls being born. The consequences of this gender imbalance have been far-reaching, causing a range of social problems. One of the most immediate effects has been a shortage of marriageable women, leaving many men unable to find a spouse. This, in turn, has been linked to an increase in crime, including violence and property crimes. Another disturbing consequence of the gender imbalance has been the rise of human trafficking, as criminal organizations seek to profit from the demand for women. This has led to a widespread exploitation and abuse of women, with many being forced into prostitution or other forms of sexual exploitation. Although China has taken steps to address the gender imbalance, including by banning sex-selective abortions, the legacy of the one-child policy continues to be felt today. It has had a significant impact on Chinese society, shaping family dynamics, gender ratios, and even the economy. The one-child policy in China was gradually relaxed over time, with exceptions made for certain groups such as ethnic minorities, rural families, and parents without siblings. In 2015, the policy was officially replaced by a two-child policy, and just recently, in 2021, it was further relaxed to allow for a three-child policy. The one-child policy had a profound impact on China's demographic structure, dramatically reducing the fertility rate, slowing down population growth, and leading to an increasingly aging population. This demographic shift has presented significant challenges for China's economy and society, from a shrinking workforce to rising healthcare costs. In addition to the one-child policy, China's rapidly aging population is also a major concern. As people live longer and have fewer children, the country is facing a demographic crisis, with fewer young people entering the workforce and supporting an increasingly elderly population. In 2019, 18.1% of the population was aged 65 or older, and this number is projected to skyrocket to 330 million by 2030. This demographic shift is expected to result in significant economic costs across the board. As the population ages, there will be an increasing demand for healthcare services, social welfare programs, and pension plans. This will put a strain on the country's resources, and the government will need to find innovative solutions to manage these costs. Additionally, as the workforce shrinks, there will be fewer people available to support the growing number of retirees, further exacerbating the economic challenges. But is the government doing anything about the crisis? Well, they are. As China grapples with a looming population crisis, the government has been taking innovative steps to mitigate its impact on the labor force. One such measure is the increased deployment of industrial robots, which have been steadily increasing in density over the past few years. According to the International Federation of Robotics, China's robot density has skyrocketed from 25 per 10,000 workers in 2013 to an impressive 246 in 2020. This puts China well above the global average of 113 and underscores the country's commitment to staying ahead of the curve when it comes to robotics and automation. The government has also been actively trying to address this issue through various population planning policies. In 2015, they replaced the infamous one-child policy with a two-child policy, which was later upgraded to a three-child policy in 2021. These policies are designed to encourage couples to have more children without fear of penalties or restrictions. But did this help? Not really. Also, according to an analyst, policymakers are arguing in favor of raising the country's retirement age sooner rather than later. This move is aimed at increasing labor force participation and reducing the dependency ratio, which is a critical issue facing many countries around the world. By taking this approach, the government hopes to ensure a more sustainable future for their economy and society. Another interesting thing they are doing is providing financial and social support for families with children by offering subsidies, tax breaks, education benefits, maternity leave, and childcare services. They hope to encourage families to have more children and ensure a brighter future for the next generation. But some still think that the effectiveness of these measures in solving the population crisis is uncertain and debatable. Let's find out why. The battle against population decline and aging is an ongoing struggle that has left some experts feeling skeptical about the effectiveness of current measures. While there have been attempts to relax birth restrictions, many believe that these actions may be too little too late to make a significant impact. Despite the loosening of birth regulations, the birth rate has not seen a substantial uptick. This can be attributed to the numerous economic and social hurdles that couples still face when considering expanding their family. High living costs, a lack of accessible childcare facilities, gender discrimination, and career pressures are just a few of the roadblocks that can make it difficult for couples to take the leap towards parenthood. Promoting immigration and multiculturalism is another key suggestion that has been put forward. By welcoming people from diverse backgrounds, we can create a more vibrant and dynamic society that is better equipped to tackle the challenges of an aging population. With China facing a looming population crisis, there are many questions swirling about what this means for the country's economy. The population issue may present opportunities as well as difficulties for young people just starting out in the job market. On the one hand, they may experience less competition and higher demand for their labor, particularly in industries with a skilled labor shortage. They might also benefit from increased social security benefits, better working conditions, and greater earnings. But on the other hand, the strain and duty to provide for their relatives, particularly their elderly parents and grandparents, could increase. Additionally, they might have more trouble locating affordable housing, education, and healthcare. The population issue may make it more important than ever for workers, both newcomers and current employees, to upgrade their skills. This is due to the possibility that the population crisis may hasten the economy's structural transformation, necessitating the adaptation of employees to new technology, industries, and vocations. The need for highly trained workers who can invent, develop, and solve problems can also rise as a result. The expense of caring for an aging population could also rise as a result of the demographic issue, which would affect society and the government. Because of the aging population, there will be an increase in the number of seniors who require Social Security, healthcare, pensions, and elder care services. The fiscal strain on the government and the public debt could rise as a result of these expenses. They might also cause the working age population, which must support their elderly relatives, to have less disposable income and savings. What about the economic implications of such a shift? Will it bring advantages or disadvantages for India and the global economy? For India, a larger population can be a key driver for economic growth, providing a larger pool of workers, consumers, and innovators. India's burgeoning middle class, for example, represents a huge market opportunity for businesses looking to expand their reach. On the other hand, a larger population can also strain resources and infrastructure, leading to issues like pollution, congestion, and inequality. India already faces significant challenges in areas like healthcare, education, and access to clean water, and a growing population will only add to these pressures. For China, being surpassed by India might result in China losing its position as the most populous nation in the world, the second largest economy, and a major player in Asia. This might result in detrimental outcomes like diminished power, less growth, diminished innovation, and diminished confidence. However, there may be other benefits as well, such as reduced pressure, conflict, pollution, and imbalance. And for the world, if India replaces China, the balance of power, trade, and culture may change. This might result in more diversity, a greater emphasis on democracy, more cooperation, and greater stability. It might, however, also have consequences like increased uncertainty, rivalry, conflict, volatility, and serious implications for global trade, investment, and security. But while we can make predictions and projections, there are always surprises and unexpected twists and turns along the way. So let's wait and see.